was like living in this constant state of like, I'm gonna die at any minute, and it like controlled me.
What's up guys and welcome. You are watching Fazi Fitness. So guys, channel membership is now live. Link is in the description and the first comment. Do check it out. That would really help support the channel. So let's start this video with an update from Ronald Gordon. Now most of us had this idea right, that Ron just won't be big enough, or thick enough, or have enough density at this past Detroit Pro, especially against a guy like William Bonac, and also James Hollingshead and Sazan Hiriti. And that is exactly what happened. Now he was being hyped up, especially in the last few weeks, leading into that show, because of his amazing structure and how wide this guy is. But some of the predictions that were being made, they just weren't realistic at all. So there was no peaking issue for Ron at all. At this past Detroit Pro, he looked absolutely sensational. But there is just no other way of saying this. The man still looked kind of small and a bit stingy, especially for his height, standing next to a guy like William Bonac, who is just so damn dense, and he won't be able to challenge all of these top guys unless he puts on a considerable amount of size and mass. So previously Ron said that he would like to do this upcoming Pittsburgh Pro as well, which is a good thing. He should 100% go for that. But that Pittsburgh Pro lineup, that is gonna be so deep, and we're gonna have so much more big stars in that lineup. So he has to keep in mind that he's gonna be lost somewhere in that second call out. Now, whether it's even possible for him to put on enough muscle, enough mass, especially while keeping all his lines, all his aesthetics, just the same as they are now, and while maintaining a small waistline, well, at this point we just do not know. And that is why guys like Samson Dauda, the reigning Olympia champion, and a guy like Andrew Jack, they are just genetic phenomena. They are once in a lifetime kind of bodybuilders, because they are just so damn unique in their abilities to put on that much muscle mass. We just rarely see guys who are close to 6 feet tall or above that they can put on that much muscle mass and fill out that frame so quickly. So let me know what you guys think. Should Ron continue to compete, or should he go back to the drawing board, dive right back into another off season, and come back maybe next year with more mass and more size? So Hosstile has just dropped some new merchandise, and all the Hosstile supplements and the products, they are tagged in this video. Click the arrow down below and use the code Fazi10 to get 10% extra discount. So this is a great day to remember one of the most aesthetic Mr. Olympias of all time, Shawn Roden, because it's his birthday. So the only unlucky champ in the Olympia history who just wasn't allowed to compete as a champion and defend his title in 2019. And I have got to say no disrespect towards Brendan Carey, as he was the 2019 Olympia champion. But that 2018 version of Shawn, that took down one of the greatest of all time, Phil Heath, which by the way was kind of unthinkable at that time. So it is pretty clear that version of Shawn that would have successfully defended his Olympia title in 2019. Now the real bodybuilding fans, they will never forget how unfairly Shawn was treated by the higher-ups in the IFBB after all those accusations came out. And that innocent until proven guilty narrative, that was just thrown out of the window. And even to this day, we do not know what came out of all those accusations. But let's talk about Shawn's incredible physique and how he persisted for 8 years to eventually win the biggest bodybuilding title in the world. And throughout his career, he gave a lot of credit to his coach, Chris Aceto, for his tremendous success. And the biggest of them all, that was winning the Olympia. So a few body parts of Shawn, they were just so damn good. For instance, his quads and his midsection, I think they will go down in the history books as some of the best ever this sport has ever seen. And a lot of people do not remember how Shawn totally changed the trajectory of his career in just 1 year, from 2011 to 2012. This probably is the least talked about Olympia placings and the jump that he took in just 1 year, as he went from 11th all the way to 3rd in just 1 year. So it is so heartbreaking to realize that just when this man started winning, he wasn't allowed to compete anymore. So is he in your list of top 3 most aesthetic Miss Olympias of all time? So that waist on Keon Pearson, when he's weighing 230 pounds, which is 30 pounds above his stage weight, that just doesn't even make any sense. He keeps on growing, getting bigger, and he just keeps on surprising all of us. So the more important question right now, that isn't how many 212 Olympia titles Keon Pearson is gonna win. The more relevant question is that, how will this physique do in a bigger division, in the men's open class? Where will this physique place against the likes of Samson Dauda, Hadi Chauhan, Derek, Andrew Jack, and Nick Walker? Especially if Keon decides to do the men's open this year. Now, that obviously isn't gonna happen. But wouldn't this be so cool if they bring the 212 and the open bodybuilding winner on the stage for the pose down, just like they did in Detroit Pro with William Bonac and Matt Grego? So the comparison of Keon Pearson with whoever wins the Olympia title this year in the men's open, that will be so cool to see. And we have to keep in mind, it's just a matter of time for Keon until he decides to switch to a bigger class. Because every time Keon Pearson posts an update, the whole point of discussion on different pages and on all of the social media bodybuilding platforms, that is always how Keon is gonna do against the big boys. Now for all the people who keep on saying that Keon doesn't stand a chance in the top 6 at the Olympia in the men's open, because all the other guys, they outweigh him by at least 40 plus pounds. Well, didn't everyone back in the 90s, they were 40 to 50 pounds heavier than Shawn Ray. And as far as I can remember, Shawn Ray was never outside of that top 5 at the Olympia, even at his last Miss Olympia. And Keon's genetic gifts and his ability to create that amazing X-frame, that insane V-taper, that just surpasses many greats of the game, including Shawn Ray. So Keon is winning his third title in the 212 with no questions asked. The question is, how will he do in the men's open? So with these new physique updates, Quinton Beastwood just announced that the prep has officially begun for him for this season. So Toronto Pro last year was the show where Quinton Beastwood really showed up to battle, and he placed runner-up just behind Akeem Williams. But Toronto Pro is scheduled in the first week of June, so that's a very short prep. So the more suitable option for Quinton, that will be something like Tampa Pro or Texas Pro, which are gonna be later this year. The fact is, Quinton just cannot afford to do a shorter prep because the man is still fighting the struggle of keeping all his size, which he has in the off-season, throughout his prep, all the way till the showtime. So right now the question is that, can Quinton make it to Miss the Olympia stage this year finally? Well, in my opinion, he definitely can. In fact, if he had continued to compete after Toronto Pro last year, he would have eventually qualified. Because even though he wasn't the most conditioned guy on that Toronto Pro stage, but still, he was able to beat a guy like John Jewett. And his genetics are just so insane. And he has such big stage presence that you just cannot take your eyes off him. Especially when he's all full and big. And especially when he's not flat. The way he was in New York. And that was amazing transformation by Quinton. From the New York Pro to Toronto Pro in just 2 or 3 weeks time. So many people still believe that he has some of the best genetics in the entire bodybuilding right now. Now that is obviously debatable. But he's still nowhere near the size of Samson Dauda or Andrew Jack. The good thing about Quinton is that the man is just 49 years old, so time is definitely on his side.
I was like really depressed, you know, like I was like really unhappy with my life and like just like scared of my future, and like I couldn't sleep. I couldn't, like, my appetite and digestion was like gone.
So this particular part from the latest episode of the Pro Chat, that is gold, because most of these pro bodybuilders out there, they will never open up like this about the risks that are involved when you are trying to be one of the best bodybuilders in the world. And all the respect for Iain Valier for revealing what was going through his head, especially during the last year of him being a competitive bodybuilder, and he kind of made himself look vulnerable by revealing all those details.
I was like having panic attacks, like to the point I thought I was having heart attacks like on a regular basis. I was just like a scared, nervous, depressed wreck that like really didn't know where the like my life was going with everything.
But this can serve as a guiding light to many others, because none of us want to see any kind of tragedy in our sport. So not one person is gonna question the retirement decision, because the man really went through some very hard times during 2023, and no wonder why he decided to walk away from the sport after winning Toronto Pro, even though the Olympia that year, that was just months away.
And I was like scared of what, like, you know, I've had always great health in bodybuilding, and I'm very fortunate to have had so, but even with it being perfect on paper, I was like living in this constant state of like, I'm going to die at any minute. And it like controlled me, you know, it was like this weird state of like constant fear and anxiety. And it sucked all the joy out of like the things that made me love bodybuilding in the first place. Like I stopped loving the training. I stopped.
And Iain's statistics, that really make him stand out. As a very good open bodybuilder, I don't think his physique got any better. After that Texas Pro 2021 look, that was probably his most complete look ever. But the man still made it to the Olympia 2022 and 2023 as well. So Iain could have continued to compete and stacked up some more pro wins, but he decided to walk away with his health intact. So 6 pro wins, a runner-up at the Arnold, and top 7 in the world at the Olympia. That is a good resume. That's a good career. And considering that he retired at 32, that's a very good career. And the man is still relevant in the sport. So hit the thumbs up button if you liked the video. And smash the subscribe button if you wanna come back for more. Thanks for watching.